Cade Cunningham is emerging as one of those guys. I need to see it in the playoffs before I can say he's a better playoff performer than Jalen Brunson. But as in
Giannis has a finals. What are you talking about? He's an MVP, a finals
He should be
MVP.
watching the playoffs from Cancun in 3 weeks or whatever.
He's probably already there. He's not playing the rest of the season.
If that doesn't fire you up, you might need a 5-hour energy. This is Last Call, and this one is for Freddie. Gone, but never forgotten. My name, Caden Colford. Jake Helton to my left. Landon McQuitty is going to join us for today's action, and we're switching things up. We're talking NBA basketball. We're talking college basketball, both D1 and D2 on certain levels. And then Jake and I have to find a winner in the Primetime Pick, and the saga continues until graduation. Let's hop into the NBA. Usually, guys, I like to say that we're pretty right about a lot of stuff. James Harden, not one of those. First 2 games with Cleveland, he's been pretty solid, gotta say. We start with his outing against Cleveland, where Harden himself had 22, 10 boards, 7 assists, and he had 3 blocks.
I mean, pretty much a triple-double, and I think that's why they brought him in, not necessarily as a scorer. And then you're going to see the game on last Wednesday, and that might bring a couple red flags to some people because he had just 13 points. He only shot the ball 4 times. I didn't get the chance to confirm this, but I can almost guarantee you in the last decade, he has not attempted under 5 shots in a game, especially you look back to some of those Rockets teams. You look back to even with the Clippers. He was getting up shots. He got up 16 in that game against Denver, ended up hitting the game winner, which we'll see here in just a second. But 3-point shooting has been a little bit off. That's kind of to be expected as you transition to a new gym. You're playing a little bit of a different style of basketball. He's 2 for 7 in that first game, 1 for 4. All of his shots against Washington from behind the 3-point line. But I mean, Harden is doing exactly what they brought him in there to do, and that's why I posed the question. I think we might have been wrong because I was very harsh about this. I didn't necessarily think it was a great fit. I thought it was going to be tough to get him and Donovan Mitchell both get their share of shots, but it seems as though James Harden is accepting the responsibility as the point guard of this team, and he's going to distribute and get his teammates good shots.
My question to Landon is, does that work? Is James Harden a good enough point guard to lead a team in Cleveland back to the late playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. I think James Harden is a good enough player, but we talk about the fit with him and Donovan Mitchell. I think that'll be a struggle, especially come playoff time, come late game scenarios. I think it might be a little bit difficult for them to try and figure out who's going to be running the offense, but seemingly James Harden, since he's joining Cleveland, has been taking a step back, letting Donovan Mitchell continue to do his things, and Harden is just trying to find his spot in the offense. And he did have a slow start against the Nuggets the other day, but in the fourth quarter, I believe he was 5 for 5, 14 points, and hit the game-tying shot as we just saw. So he knows how to play winning basketball, and I think they'll figure it out come playoff time for sure.
You know, Jake, you bring up the not-so-amazing performance last time out for James Harden, shooting just 4 points, but a not-so-amazing performance from him against the Wizards sees a 25-point win. It seems James Harden with a double-double in that game. So I think if that's the worst game you're getting out of James Harden, you win this trade by a mile, and things are really looking up.
Well, you're looking at the assists. He's had 18 assists through his 2 games here, and I'll continue to say that that's why they brought him into this team, is to pass the ball, get Donovan Mitchell someone better at facilitating. Not that Darius Garland wasn't a good facilitator, it's just that James Harden is that step into the next stratosphere. You're talking about taking yourself from the 4 seed right now, maybe a chance to compete for that 1, and now you're stepping into territory where you have a chance to not just take the 1 seed, you have a chance to win the entirety of the entire Eastern Conference, and that's what this trade does. We talked about the potential, and we're seeing it right here. I think that's the biggest thing is we weren't necessarily wrong because I told you him and Donovan Mitchell could go for 80 every single game. That's just the level of players these 2 guys are, but they're playing together. They're playing smart. Donovan Mitchell is still going to be the leader of this team for now. They brought James Harden in as almost a side piece just to help them get to that next level.
Landon, Cavaliers now 34-21. They sit at 4th in the East. What is Cleveland's ceiling this season?
Cleveland's ceiling this season, I think, is most likely an NBA championship, and I think they do have a great chance to make it to the finals. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, but the East is kind of wide open as at the start of the season, you're missing 2 of the best players and throughout the conference, and Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, both rehabbing from Achilles injuries, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, to me, this was just a sign that they didn't think that their core had enough to get it done. You had the big four of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, but come playoff time, Darius Garland was just never healthy, and the stipulations with James Harden is that he's a poor playoff performer. It's not that he's not on the court. So with James Harden, you at least believe that he's going to be there, and it's just a move they were trying to capitalize on this championship window with Donovan Mitchell, and I think they have a chance to make the finals for sure, and they have a chance to win it.
And speaking on Cleveland, don't look now. Jared Allen, 8 for 8 with 21 in their last game against Washington. Well, Jared Allen has been killing. He's playing at an all-star, all-NBA level right now. I'd say he's one of the best centers.
I mean, Cleveland's won 9 of their last games. You could say that pretty much about the entirety of the top. You got the Knicks who have won 8 of their last 10. Pistons have won 8 of their last 10. Celtics 7 of their last 10. So it's a top-heavy conference, kind of similar to what we saw last year. Obviously, you had the Pacers in there. I think the one big shock to me is the fact that the Bucks do not choose to trade away Giannis, yet they still sit down at the bottom. They're in 12th right now. And kind of they're not going to blow it up yet because they're going to get more for him in the offseason. I understand that, but the Bucks, you can basically write them off. You can write off the Bucks and below. Bucks, Nets, Pacers, Wizards, no competition at all. I think the Hornets, they had their time. They had a little spurt mid-season. They won 10 games in a row or something like that. I think they're falling off. You're looking right now, 8 through 1 are probably your teams that are going to be able to have a chance to win. You're not going to see a ton of movement into season.
But I want to know who it's going to be. I want to know who the top dog in the East is. We all put together our team to take it out of the East. And as we look at that, for me, I feel I've always been pretty partial to one team. New York has the guy, especially come playoff time. Jalen Brunson is always forgotten until we get to late March, until we get to April, until we get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you're in the Eastern Conference Finals. And in those playoffs, Jalen Brunson is never not a top 2 player on the floor. Just never not. He has the ability to do everything for this team, and I think New York has done a great job at building a squad around him. That guy right there, Mitchell Robinson, grabs every offensive board imaginable. Landry Shamet in the opposite corner can knock down the 3, and then you obviously have Jalen Brunson doing just this. Jalen Brunson killing this squad with everybody working around him.
I always think Mitchell Robinson looks like he's playing for the Harlem Globetrotters. He's got the short shorts and the headband. He always looks a little bit uncoordinated and everything on the floor. But I think the one advantage that the Knicks have that they didn't have last year is a different coach. I mean, last year, Tibbs only played 7 players in rotation throughout the entire season. You get to the postseason, same thing. Had he played maybe 2 extra players, he might still have his job right now. That's the difference. But when you look at this Knicks team, they're playing a lot more people. They'll get OG Anunoby back. There's their defense. And then, as you mentioned already, Jalen Brunson, a pretty solid guard out there.
Solid?
Okay, not solid. That's disrespectful. He's one of the best to do it right now. So the problem with the Knicks right now is that they've got a team. They're the team with the target on their head. Okay. You know who's coming after them?
Tell me.
Detroit. Detroit is coming at the Knicks. They are coming to take them out. They don't want to lose a single game to anybody, but it just means more when they're on the floor with the Knicks. If I'm not mistaken, they've sweeped this series this year. Detroit's won every single time they played against the New York Knicks, and it's the defense. Jalen Duren and then Cade Cunningham just led their team to an all-star game title just a day ago, and there's the defense by Cade Cunningham. He's not just getting it done offensively. He's going to play on both sides of the floor, and I think that along with that, the fact that this team is so young, it just means a little bit more to get that 1 seed compared to a team who's maybe had the 30 or the 50, 60 win season already. It just means a little bit more to this team. I feel like that's why you're going to see them at the top. And then I think they're going to continue to carry that into the postseason. They have a little bit to show in the postseason. I will admit they didn't perform too well last year. So I look at that as their step up, and they're going to continue step their way all the way to the championship, maybe take down the Thunder.
Landon, are the Pistons legit? Is Cade Cunningham legit? Do they have a real shot in the East?
I think the Pistons are a great team, and obviously they're a great team. They're the top of the East right now, and I think Cade Cunningham is absolutely a great player, but I think the big knock on them is the experience. You look at up and down that roster, they don't have the experience you really need come to the end of the playoffs, and I think They're a great regular season team. I think that they have a good chance to finish the season as a number one in the East, but I just don't think they have quite enough to get it done. But you talk about championship experience. Let's talk about the 2024 champs, the Boston Celtics.
Tell me about them.
I think that they've been a lot better than people expected them to be so far this season. Jaylen Brown has been playing at an MVP level. He's top 5 in the league in points per game. He's tied with Anthony Edwards, averaging about 30 points per game. And they're only about 5.5 games back of the Pistons. And they're doing this all without their best player in Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown has been huge, but you're getting back a top 5 player in the world, hypothetically, if he's healthy come playoff time. And I think that just puts them over the edge, gives them enough to get right back into the promised land. And I think this is just the team that can beat anybody because they have the know-how, they have the experience, and they've been there before.
Could be the Pacers.
One day, 1 year, maybe sometime when we're all dead, it might just be the Pacers. But, I think all 3 of these teams are really tough. For me, it comes down to the X factor. I've always felt that Jalen Brunson has been that X factor. He's shown up big in big games. I think the Pacers just out-manufactured New York in an organizational fashion. I think if anybody has the claim to do that same thing against New York this year, it is going to be Detroit's. Actually, the game coming up between these two teams. My knock on Boston is if you were to bring back Jason Tatum, that is like changing everything on a vehicle.
Yeah.
That's throwing an entirely different engine in the truck. He's going to be taking 20 shots a game, taking shots away from Jaylen Brown, taking shots away from Derek White. I don't know how many shots are taken away from Derek White, but this completely changes everything for Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics.
I will say this. Their team chemistry is a little bit better than others, so I think they're going to have an easier time bringing him back into the mix. That is one thing. But another thing, the Pistons have the best home record, and we saw last year the home floor advantage, obviously, unless you were playing the Pacers, was pretty big advantage. So I look at Detroit. They've got a pretty easy schedule to finish off the season. I look at 4 big games that you're going to want to keep an eye on. They've got 2 against the Spurs. They've got 2 against Oklahoma City, and then 2 against Cleveland. Those 6 games, those are going to be the ones to watch. If they win all 6 of those, I think the East is in trouble. And Cade Cunningham, he hasn't played better basketball than he is right now. His last 2 games, 33-9, 28-9 again. He had 9 assists in that last game. So he's putting up the big numbers, playing defense, and that's probably the biggest thing is this Detroit team is playing defense, something that not every NBA team does.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about Cade. I'm glad we're talking about Jalen Brunson. I'm glad we're talking about some of the best players in the NBA because all 3 of us are going to give our top 5 in the league. We're asking the big question up next on Last Call. This is the big one. This one is the question you're sitting around the lunch table when you're saying, this guy. No, I like this guy. We're talking about the 5 best players in the league right now, today. And we're going to start with my top 5, then go to Jake's, then go to Landon's. We'll start with me, and I don't think it's anything super crazy. There is one guy that I don't know if anybody else is going to see in their top 5. My top 5 reads Jokic. I think that's unanimous. Should be, right? Shea at 2. Pretty solid guy. Look, he won the finals last year, led a team through the heavy Western Conference. Luka at 3 because we really forget how good this guy is. Cade at 4, and he's better than Giannis right now. First thoughts?
Well, first off, we've been doing this show too long because we think almost identically. We're going to see pretty similar lists from Caden and myself, but I think having Cade above Giannis is very disrespectful.
Really?
We're talking about a guy who is the team. We're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, we are.
You can't talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Basically, I would say you can't spell Milwaukee without Giannis, but there's no
we're talking about the
that.
12-seeded Bucks right now, and we're talking about the 12-seeded Giannis. Cade's at number 1 right now in the same exact East.
I'll be honest. He is not having the great season, but you got to look at a little bit. You got to look back just a tad bit at what Giannis has been doing, and then he's also doing the same thing, but he doesn't have a Drew Holiday. He doesn't have all those pieces he needs around him. Maybe that's management's fault. Maybe that's his fault for sticking with it. But I just think right now, Giannis, there's no way that Cade Cunningham is better than Giannis. One-on-one, Giannis is scoring 12 points straight, skunking him, no doubt about it. They play each other. There's no way. I think you could say it the other way. Giannis probably couldn't guard Cade, but Cade's not scoring around the basket. There's so many different ways you could look at this. Statistically, I feel like Giannis is a little bit better than Cade. It's A and B, but you'll see. I have on Giannis.
One's going to be in the playoffs, one's not. Landon, I want you to play big brother here, and I want you to tell me who's right.
I'm not going to lie. I agree with Jake on this one.
Do you really?
I'll go with the two-time MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, over Cade Cunningham. And
that's great.
Cade Cunningham, I'm going to mention him later. I think he is a great player, and I don't think he really gets the respect that he deserves. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the biggest names in the NBA. I think he's top 3 probably on both sides of the ball, all things considered. And the team isn't doing very well, but you look at them without Giannis, they're on pace to be a 28-win team, 108 points per game with him. They increased about 13 games to a 42-game win pace, and that points per game also jumps up about 15. So it's not a good team with Giannis, but without Giannis, they're even worse.
Guys, we're talking like Cade Cunningham isn't the only all-star on this team. We're talking like we didn't just watch an entire 40-second montage of Cade Cunningham destroying the East. He's number 1 in the East right now. He's better than Boston. He's better than New York. He's better than Cleveland.
I would argue, you just said that Jalen Brunson was the best player in the East 5 minutes
We're talking
ago.
about the playoffs. But I'm talking right now, top 5 in the East. Cade Cunningham is emerging as one of those guys. I need to see it in the playoffs before I can say he's a better playoff performer than Jalen Brunson. But as in
Giannis has a finals. What are you talking about? He's an MVP, a finals
He's going to be
MVP.
watching the playoffs from Cancun in 3 weeks or whatever.
He's probably already there. He's not playing the rest of the season. What are we talking about? Giannis is definitely better player than Cade Cunningham. Giannis almost averaged a triple-double for 3 years straight. And who's at number 1? And why do you have him at number 1? Because he almost averages a triple-double every single night.
And he wins with the finals. And he's in that same East as Shea, and he's still succeeding every single night.
We have seen Giannis succeed with nothing on his team. I would say Drew Holiday is the only real Chris Middleton, when he had him, obviously, is a good second option. But nobody's getting in front of Giannis. He gets downhill, he gets to the basket, he scores. That's it.
And he can't shoot. In today's league, if you cannot shoot, let's be for real.
I'll say that was one of the knocks that I had on him last year. I think it's improved the slightest bit that it needs to where he can pump fake and people are going to fall for it. You know how much of a difference that makes? Just a slight hesitation, he gets to the basket.
Who's the second best player on the Pistons? Either of you, right now. Second best player on the Pistons.
Jalen Duren.
Jalen Duren. Oh my goodness, Jalen Duren, the second best player on your team.
He's an all-star. What are we talking about?
I think Jalen Duren's probably better than the second best player on the Bucks.
I would guarantee that.
And the argument...
I'm glad we got here. Jake, I want you to tell me your top 5 now. If I'm so wrong, I want to see the top 5.
All right, let's go run it. Throw up the top 5 there. It's very similar. It's not too different, but I respect Giannis, and I know that Wemby is a force for the same reason. 1, 3, and 5 are on that list because nobody can stop them. Nobody stops Jokic. Nobody stops Giannis. Nobody stops Victor Wembanyama. He had 30 points in a first quarter.
Let's not forget when Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat swept Giannis off the floor in the first round of the playoffs. Can we talk about that? Look, I've seen some great things from Giannis, but when you don't have the most underrated point guard ever in Drew Holiday on your team as the best perimeter defender in the league at that day, with shooters around you in Chris Middleton, you can go win the finals. That's great. But when you don't have any help, the team doesn't get anything done at all. Ever.
But, what does that have to do with him being the best player we're talking about? And I know I kind of
went to the team as well. You can drop all the points you want, but if you don't win, what's it matter?
I mean, I just feel like that's not the best argument because according to that argument, then Bill Russell's the best player to ever play. We're going to go down that line of argument.
We're going to go down that line one day, and everyone's going to get mad at me there too.
The argument I would make, and I would really say the main thing is we're talking about best players, not most valuable players. I think if we're talking about most valuable players, I would definitely have Cade over Giannis because the record is definitely a big impact there. But you're just talking about individual players.
Let's watch the film, guys.
I'm still taking Giannis.
I completely agree. The wording is a good point to make there, Landon. But I just think that there's no way that you don't have Wemby on your list. I feel like that is beyond disrespectful. I mean, if he didn't have to miss so many games last year at the end of the season, he would have already been Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year as long as he's eligible for those awards. So that's why he's at 5. 4, I got Luka. Luka is one of the best scorers. I look at KD and his prime of scoring, and I look at Luka's ability to score off the dribble. I think it's similar. He doesn't have the same shooting. I feel like KD's ability to rise up over the defense and shoot was just a little bit better. He had the speed. Luka, his style is slow. He gets to the basket. He gets exactly what he wants out of a possession. Giannis, I've already mentioned it. He's a downhill. He's a bull rushing towards the basket. And if he gets there, he's going to score. There is no stopping Giannis. Shea's going to get his points at the free throw line. He's got an incredible mid-range. He can step out and shoot the three. He leads the best team in the league. There's your most valuable right there. And then Jokic is the best player. There is no doubt about it. You can never put anybody ahead of him. For the foreseeable future, unless Wemby starts passing like Jokic, if he starts consistently rebounding like Jokic, and then he's also going to score his 30 points, then you can say that there's someone competing for that spot. There is nobody better at basketball right now than Nikola Jokic.
I'm glad that we can agree on that. We'll see if Landon thinks the same way. Landon's top 5. Let's see what he's got.
This is the legit 5 from Landon here, and yeah, I feel like it is almost unanimous. I think you throwing Cade Cunningham. I had Cade as an honorable mention. Our graphic wasn't big enough to throw that up there, but I do like it. Landon, talk us through your top 5.
Yeah, I thought about Cade Cunningham a lot, just talking about his impact. He's second in the league in total points generated per game. Cade Cunningham generates nearly 50 points of offense a game.
He's making my case for me.
I think he's a statistical monster, but when you look at Victor Wembanyama, he not only leads the league in blocks, he's not only the current Defensive Player of the Year favorite, he not only dropped 40 points in 26 minutes against the Lakers, but when he's on the court, the offensive players think twice, 3, 4 times before even touching the paint. The way that the opposing team plays basketball, when Wemby's on the court compared to when Luke Cornett is on the court, it's almost unrecognizable.
All right, there's obviously one glaring difference between all 3 of ours, and it was where Giannis was. You had him at the back. You had him at 2. I don't know that I agree with him over SGA. SGA is becoming one of the best scorers. I mean, he is almost averaging 30 points, like consistently just getting to 30, not having 40, 50-point games, then some 20 drop-offs here and there. He's consistently getting to that 30 mark. Yeah, he's shooting a lot of free throws. Here's a fun fact. Kobe Bryant shot 2 more free throws per game than SGA did last year in his MVP season when Kobe won MVP. So if people want to complain about that, you can go take it up with someone else. So I look at SGA as one of the premier scorers of the league, and that's why I made my list the way I did. I took a little bit of defense into account, and if I had taken it into account a little bit more, you wouldn't have saw Luka up there. You would have saw Cade Cunningham
Probably.
Instead. I would 1,000%. Luka might be the worst defender in the league. Put him and LeBron on the same team. That's why they suck. But there's no way in any world that this season Giannis is better than SGA, I feel like. Is there an argument in your mind? Obviously, you had that ranking. What is the reason behind that?
Well, it was really the same point I went back to earlier. We were talking about Cade Cunningham. You talked about the records. I'm just really more so thinking about individual impact. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the best team in the league, but it definitely should not take away from the type of player that he is. He's second in the league in points per game, and he's taken the 8th most shots in the league. I believe he has the 14th highest field goal percentage. That stat is absolutely insane. Averaging 32 on 55% is elite, but to me, Jokic and Giannis are still at the top of the mountain, and SGA, I just don't think he has the same level of impact as Giannis does.
Well, I guess it's a good thing Freddie's not here, because you would have saw
Victor at 1, probably.
you just saw that.
Well, he was better than
flipped.
Jokic, according to Freddie, last year. You know what? That's our top 5. If your top 5 is different, let us know why you're wrong in the comments. We're going to come back and talk UINDY basketball. Landon, thank you for joining us today. But Sean Arnold, Carmelo Harris, Coach Eddie, we have some Greyhound basketball to talk about. If you're in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, playing some men's basketball, a team that you do not want to run into right now, the Indianapolis Greyhounds. Greyhounds fresh off of beating number 16 and most recently beating number 23 McKendree. And then to top it all off, the number 1 team in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, UIS, just found out about it at Nickerson Hall a few days ago. Greyhounds a huge win, 81-68 behind 2 huge performances from Carmelo Harris and Sean Arnold.
It all started with that win against Missouri S&T. 5 straight home wins for this squad. They're defending the home turf. Unfortunately, not going to get to play here. We'll have to head to St. Louis for the conference tournament. But we can officially announce that the Greyhounds have clinched their position in the GLVC tournament. They currently sit at spot number 4. The top 6 have been clinched, and so the last 2 spots will be decided. The last 3 teams that really are competing for it: Upper Iowa, University of Missouri St. Louis, and Truman State. So if the Greyhounds do end up getting that 1 seed, which is kind of what I want to take this conversation, because there's a very good chance. The Greyhounds picked up 2 big wins. If you know anything, the Great Lakes Valley Conference uses the PRS system, the point ranking system, and we talked a little bit about it last week, but the Greyhounds, it's kind of favoring them because they played a pretty tough schedule. These last 2 games were 6.5. They were both worth that many points, which improved the Greyhounds' average. They now sit at 2nd place in the conference. They would be the 2 seed and would take on Upper Iowa if the season were to end today, which I don't know if that's the best matchup for the Greyhounds. It's the one team in the conference, or one of the teams in the conference, they did not beat this year, so could be interesting, but there's a lot to decipher with this, because there's some teams you definitely don't want to face, like maybe a William Jewell, and there's some other teams that are kind of dwindling down as the season comes to an end that you maybe wouldn't mind, like the team they just saw, UIS.
UIS, I really think that they are going to be a very tough team to win against again. You lost all on the road in Springfield, and when you go to the conference tournament March 5th, that is going to be on neutral ground. It's going to be in St. Louis against UMSL. And I don't know how much of an effect that has, but we're talking about 2 of the best coaches in the conference right now. And if you're asking me right now, I'd say it's the 2 coaches that one of these 2 are going to win it, Matt Brock or Coach Hetty. And I think that if this does come down to a 3rd game in the season series, it's going to be close. I don't know if UIS is the draw that you want, first round at least.
I've been telling our buddy Jace this for a week now. They are the only team in the conference that can shoot somebody out of the gym. When the Greyhounds went there about a month or 2 ago at the beginning of January, they shot the lights out. They were up by 20 before half. There was never a chance. They had 15 made threes in the first half, which is insane. That never happens hardly ever. That's, 45 points off of just threes. So they had one of the best games of their season. They came into Greyhound territory, didn't shoot too well. Greyhounds win that one. That's what gives me a little bit of confidence in them, that neutral ground maybe. I didn't like UMSL's rims. I thought they were a little bit tight, to be honest with you. They looked harder to shoot on than what you would see here at Nickerson Hall, so maybe that favors the Greyhounds a little bit on a big 3-point shooting team like UIS. But I like that you mentioned Coach Hetty in that Coach of the Year conversation, because nobody's had as good of a turnaround as the Greyhounds have this year.
And these are huge wins. We're talking about nationally ranked teams. Greyhounds have played 3 ranked opponents, 2 at home, 1 on the road. The only one they've lost to was number 25 at the time, Upper Iowa, which is a completely different team than anybody else that you're going to play in the Great Lakes Valley Conference. But that also means that when drawing from the hat to find your pick to play in the first round in the GLVC, there's not many super favorable options. Rockhurst going to be very, very tough to beat twice. UMSL, not necessarily a team that you've stacked up against super well this year. Even at home, when you got the win, it took an injury and a few bounces to go your way to really pull that one out. Honestly, it's going to sound counterintuitive, but number 23, McKendree, would be the team that I would pick to play.
I think the Greyhounds match up against them very well, and we saw that just not too long ago. But I think the easiest way that we could probably decide this is let's just pick a best player. Oftentimes, the best player on the best team finds a way to win. Who is the best player in the GLVC? Maybe the top 3 right now.
Best player, top 3 in the GLVC. This is so tough because it really depends on the night. It really does depend on the night. I think I have a different outlook on what makes the best player. I talk about Sean Arnold like he's Michael Jordan at the Division II level, because he can literally shoot 3 for 13, and you cannot take him out of the game, and you cannot overlook him as a player, because he's going to have 5 steals, and he's going to have 9 rebounds, and he's going to have 5 assists.
The best way to explain it, he's what Russell Westbrook was to OKC before he had his demise at the end of his career. Tailed off towards the end of his season, but Sean Arnold is basically the Russell Westbrook of this team. He gets downhill, he gets the basket, he can pass the ball, he can rebound, he can also lay one up on the rim if he needs to. He's had a couple dunks this year, so I love that Sean Arnold pick, and I think he is number 1. I agree.
And all of it is just, long story short, who's going to show up. I know that Sean Arnold, in some form or fashion, is going to show up in a big game. If he doesn't drop 20, he's going to have a double-double with with rebounds and steals.
Yeah, absolutely. The other side, you can see if Caden, move your head a little bit to the left there. 5 steals there, 8 rebounds, 21 points. That's just a typical night. That's nothing special for Sean Arnold. He does that every single night, which makes it all that much more impressive. You got guys like Jalen Wesley, Drennan Dinkins. They're going to get the scoring title.
I didn't know that Drennan Dinkins was as tough as he was
Yeah.
until he drops near 30 points on 4 for 14 shooting.
He's like that, to say the least. And then you got Justice Sutton. I think he's the best one-on-one scorer. He's the KD
He's
of
the
the
toughest
GLBC.
matchup.
He is the toughest matchup. We were just talking about it before the show. It's a tough matchup for anybody in the entirety of the GLVC. Throw a big on him, he can get around him. You throw a guard on him, he's going to shoot it right over him. It's a very tough puzzle, but if anyone's going to figure it out, I think it's going to be Coach Eddie.
Hey, GLVC looking like tough runs heading into March. Should be fun. And the Greyhounds, given a great performance in the GLVC tournament, could be, we're not looking at a huge percentage, but a national tournament bid is not out of the question just yet. That's your look at Division II sports. Now it's time. It's the time. We're getting into it. The Primetime Pick Em. 5 games. We start with the Suns. They're going to San Antonio to play Victor and the Spurs.
Yeah, the Spurs. Let's not drag it out.
Let's mark it down. The Spurs are going to take it at home against the Suns. And now this game, big between us. We're talking about 2 of the best in the East, Pistons and the Knicks. I think it's hard to beat the Knicks 3 times in a season. I like New York.
Shout out to our producer for throwing this game on. Good pick. I'm going with the Detroit Pistons on the road for the reason that no game on their schedule means more than a game against the New York Knicks. And they're going to come out on top.
Knicks have won 8 of their last 10. I like
Pistons
the
have won 8 of their last 10 too.
Beautiful. Shaping up to be a Super Bowl level matchup. Mavs, they're traveling to Indy right here in the Circle City against the Pacers. Jake, does the blue and gold, do they continue to not be able to tank?
I don't know what their deal is. I don't know if they got scared off by that fine or what and thought they needed to win a couple games. They win in overtime, which if you're tanking, how do you win in overtime? That is ridiculous.
They're going to throw away the 5-9 pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, you might as well write it off. We're just going to get Zubac and Hallie, and that's going to be it. But I'm going to go with the Mavs. The Pacers should not win again, but knowing how my luck works, they'll probably pull it off.
Let's hope for the Mavericks, even in Indianapolis. Celtics traveling across the country, going to play LA, the oldest rivalry in this game.
And that's why I think it's a tough travel across the country. I don't think it's as big of a deal for these basketball players because they're moving all the time. It's not necessarily the football deal, but it is a long trip over there. And I'm going to go with the Lakers. Sorry.
Well, you and I thinking alike today. I like LeBron and LA at home. 76ers playing the Timberwolves.
This is the game I get burned on right here. I got the Timberwolves because in my mind this is a no-doubter. Absolutely no-doubter. But coming off All-Star Weekend, Joel Embiid's been coming around in spurts somehow. I don't know what he's doing these days. He's decided he wants to play basketball again, so maybe the 79ers will – 79ers, what am I on? The 76ers will not win this one. I'm going to go with the Wolves. Just try to keep it simple.
Well, to be a good journalist, you got to have some reasonable doubt, right? You got to dig into the story. I'm digging into the 76ers on the road against the Timberwolves. That's the difference maker this week. Let's look at our record. Let's see. I think I need it. I really think I need it.
Oh, man, what a rough end of the year for you. And
That's
a tough
okay.
start, I guess.
We're playing into May. I'm not worried about what the record says in February. We're playing into May.
You know what's cool? I made that graphic.
Hey, good looks. Enjoy it for now. This has been the last call. That's what we saw
there
last
you
week.
go. There it is. Oh,
Look,
man, we should have been doing this the
have
whole
an
time.
off night. Jalen Brunson had like 12 the other night in 33 minutes. Is he still going to be the clutch player of the year come the playoffs? Yes.
See,
yes.
The thing that's tough about that is I had the Pelicans and wherever the OKC is, and then I lost the last 3. We picked the same 3 on the last one, so you went 0 for 5. But the thing is that I was sweating this game out. The OKC game, I sweated that one out the entirety of that game, and they finally pulled that one off, and I was like, this is going to be the week. I'm going to go 5 for 5. Just as good, though. You going 0 for 5 might even be better.
This has been Last Call. See you next week.